Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Overcoming Graduation with Brian Drury. Today we have a doozy for you. My guest, Jenna Phillips, is a person who I think is going to blow your mind with all of the different things that she is doing in her life. To give you a little bit of background, she identifies herself as a total wellness philosopher. You may be wondering what that means or what that's all about. So she's going to be giving you a whole lot of explanation of what that means. But to give you a little bit of background, just to read a little bio from her site, Jenna is a total wellness philosopher and the founder of I'mOnAmission.com and the Team I Am. So she's on a mission to inspire as many people as possible to fall in love with themselves every single day. She does this through fitness, through coaching, but it's much deeper than just a personal trainer because she teaches self-love and appreciation for who you are at a deep level. So Jenna, this is fantastic stuff, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute delight to be here with you.
So for everyone who's wondering, let's see, what does Jenna do and maybe who does she work with? I was just looking a bit at her client list prior to the start of this call, and I told her just before we started, I said, oh my God, to give you just a quick highlight of some of the people she's worked with. We have Ben Stiller, Donald Penn of the Oakland Raiders, Emilia Clarke, Jeremy Piven, Katy Perry, which, by the way, Jenna, if Katy is into redheads, please feel free to pass my number along to her. And now I have to ask, down at the bottom where it says Saudi Arabian princesses, is that true princesses from Saudi Arabia you've worked with?
Yes, sir. Saudi Arabian royalty. It was a very interesting job working with them. They were beautiful human beings.
Wow. See, I wasn't sure if that was the name of some, musical group I just haven't heard of yet, or if it was truly princesses. So that's fantastic.
No, truly. There were 3 princesses that I got to work with, and it was beautiful. They're just immaculate humans. Love them.
That's awesome. So, all right, for everyone listening, for all of the OCG community, I know many of you already may be going, wow, if you look at the people Jenna's working with, the types of work she's doing, how passionate and excited she is, it may seem very far off. It may seem like it's impossible to reach, but I can guarantee that as we go through Jenna's story, it was step by step, and I know that she has had some huge challenges that she has had to overcome in her life. And like so many of the stories that you hear on this podcast, it is just a reminder for you that everyone has challenges, and if she can do it and I can do it, then you can do it too. So Jenna, I am so excited to hear this story and really dive into this, because I remember when I met you at the Sean Stevenson conference, I was just kind of really taken by the way that you talk about life and the way that you approach life. And so I'm very excited to hear your story and how you got there. So could we start with college graduation, because that's where this always begins. Can you tell us a bit about where you studied, what you studied, and what life looked like for you at that point in your life?
Wow. Oh, so many questions. Where do I start? There's so many stories to tell. Okay, so I actually went to, I started college a little bit later than I originally planned. When I was a senior in high school, I was in a head trauma accident, and I was in a coma, and I woke up with brain damage. So the doctor said that I was not going to graduate from high school on time, but I was committed to having that happen. So I did actually finish on time, but I kind of took a little bit of time off after I graduated from high school, and wound up going to a community college, probably like 2 semesters after I graduated from high school, and began my journey with college in that avenue, and it was really good for me. It was a really good way for me to get back into the schooling environment. And so it was perfect. I wound up starting off in Monterey Bay. So that's where I'm from, Carmel, which is a beautiful location. It's a little tiny village, but it's right on the ocean up in Central California. And went to Monterey Bay Community College up there, and then went down to Los Angeles, and I went to Santa Monica Community College, and I got my associate's degree because I wound up going to Spain and studied Spanish over there. I was going to school over there.
Jenna,
a bunch of my friends.
Where in Spain?
Oh, in San Sebastian in the Basque Country.
I studied abroad in Granada. So.
Oh, awesome! So yeah. you get the culture over there. It's beautiful.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible. So I think I was about 3/4 of the way complete with my community college stuff, and then I wound up moving over to Spain, and I was there for 7 months, and I went to school over there, and then I came back and I completed my associate's degree here, and I wound up applying to a lot of different four-year schools, and I was going to major in nutrition, and that was my focus, but I was totally passionate about getting into fitness, and I wound up having my first private client. My first private client was Ben Stiller, and so kind of after that my career took off, and I didn't really have time to go back to school, so I kind of created my own curriculum about life, and just I studied what I wanted to study, and wound up getting certified as a personal trainer, as a Pilates Plus instructor and spinning instructor. So I was doing a lot of education. I was educating myself in a lot of ways, but not like a typical route. And then I wound up getting certified as a holistic lifestyle coach through Czech Institute. So I've got a lot of certifications and, you know, all that good stuff, but never actually went to a four-year school.
Well, that is so fantastic because I didn't even know that. That is so fantastic for this podcast, because that's one of the huge messages for the listeners, is that you can take any route. There is no set route. There is no one way to get things done or define what people define as success. And that's something else, is that most people they say, I want to be successful, but they don't even know what that means. So in that story, there's a couple things I want to dig into. So I think we'll start at the beginning and work through. But so what caused the head trauma accident? Was that a car accident or something similar?
No, I was decorating for a party on my parents' property. We were going to have a huge, gigantic party right after Winter Ball, and it was going to be the party of the year, and it was, you know, my intention to go out with a bang as class of 2000, and I was decorating the hayloft of a barn with a bunch of my friends, and I was walking backwards, and I had a sheet. I had a sheet in my hands. I was hanging a sheet on the ceiling, and I was walking backwards, not paying attention to where I was going, and I basically ran out of floor, and it was just, I mean, I don't even remember falling, but I fell 14 feet, landed on my head on concrete, and was immediately unconscious, went into a coma. And I was blessed enough to not have broken anything. I had a fractured skull, I had 2 brain contusions, and a contusion is a bruise. So I had 2 bruises on either side of my brain. And it was pretty intense. The swelling was definite and very present, and doctors thought that I was not going to wake up anytime soon, but I wound up waking up the next day, which was the biggest blessing. So it really supported me in not having extensive brain damage. Yeah,
that's incredible. It's one of those things where you're going through setting up for a big party, everything's focused on this good stuff, and then something happens that just totally throws things off. And what I found, especially when I started my personal development journey, and I've gone through, you know, tough things recently, some of the biggest things in my life recently. So I would ask, what do you think was one of the biggest lessons that came out of that unexpected challenge or that unexpected negative experience?
Definitely gave me a new perspective on life. I mean, I really finally understood the power of intention, and I understood what it meant to be committed to something, because I was so committed to school for the first time in my life. And I was a really smart kid, and I didn't really study that often. School was not that important to me. Wasn't passionate about it. But when I was really challenged and I realized that I had to work my butt off in order to graduate from high school on time, I didn't miss a single day of school. I mean, my senior year, I ditched all the time. I was not being responsible with my schoolwork, and I really cared about school for the first time ever, really. And it was beautiful. So being able to get through that challenge and rise above it was everything for me. It was a huge game changer.
Yeah, that's a fantastic way to look at it, in the perspective shift, because not a lot of people would take that route or take that road. They would say, oh, why me? Why is this happening? I'm not going to graduate on time. But I love how you just shifted your focus to, instead of, oh, I'm not going to how can I? How can I achieve this? How can I make this happen? And especially when it's something you said really wasn't for you. It wasn't really something that connected with you easily. So moving, all right, because we hit a lot of things there. So moving through your story, well, one, Monterey is beautiful. I just went skydiving for the first time ever over Monterey Bay.
Oh, wow. That's where I went skydiving.
Oh my God. Wasn't it beautiful?
Gorgeous, insane, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, that was a fantastic experience. For all the listeners, if you're scared to do it, just do it, because it's going to blow your mind. In fact, you probably won't even remember most of the first trip. Like, I still feel like it didn't happen because it was such a rush of emotion and sensation. But now, you said you were applying for 4-year degrees, and then you got Ben Stiller as your first coaching client. How did that come about? Because I'm super curious to find out about that. Because it's like, oh, hey, yeah, I just snagged Ben Stiller as my first client. I'm sure a lot of coaches out there would be killing to get Ben Stiller.
Yeah, it was kind of being in the right place at the right time, and also just it was an energetic thing. I mean, I was really asking the universe for something really, really awesome in my life, and I was ready to just really elevate myself, and I wanted to just launch into my career, and it just so happened to be Ben Stiller. I mean, he was taking classes or private lessons from the owner of the studio where I was teaching Pilates, and he was gonna be on location for a movie, and he asked my boss to go train him for this movie, and he said that he couldn't leave. I mean, he had a business to run, he had a family. And he's like, I'll give you my best trainer. And I'd only been a trainer for like a month. I'd been a Pilates instructor. I was teaching classes. And he said, I'll give you my best instructor. And that was it.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, another piece that I loved about your story and the way you delivered it was you said that I didn't get a conventional education, but I was constantly learning and growing. What I think a lot of people think is that they either have to choose the standard regimen of college classes or just not be educated at all, which what I found through interviewing people like you on this show, through my own research, through reading books, is that many of the most successful, enlightened, fulfilled people that are having the most fun are the ones who are voracious learners. They never stop learning, but they've chosen to focus their learning on the things that truly excite them and bring them life. They bring their soul out and their passion. So could you give the listeners just a little bit of recommendations or advice about what you would recommend to help them understand, one, what it is that because so many of the listeners will say, I don't even know what it is I want to do. So one, how do they even begin to start? And two, what are some of the best ways you've found to educate yourself in the areas you love?
Well, I would say, as far as trying to figure out what it is that one wants to do, is really be connected to what we would do every single day for free. Mm-hmm. What is it that brings us the most joy? I love to inspire people and create space for them to have transformations and breakthroughs, and it's something that I'm really excited about, and that's something that I just really started to understand as I continued to be. I was kind of like an unofficial therapist for a lot of my friends, and I really enjoyed working out, and I was kind of combining the two, and I realized that, hey, I actually really like giving people guidance, and I love being an inspiration for people. And what I love to do every single day is be active and eat well and take care of myself, because I was also diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was in my head trauma accident. I didn't know that I had it. So they found out when I was in the ICU. They were doing routine blood work on me, and they're like, oh, surprise, you're type 1 diabetic. So that's something that I also got to learn how to deal with and manage, in addition to learning how to read again and maintain and sustain information. So I had a hard time with incoming information, and I had no short-term memory, so that was a challenge for me. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I love to do what I love to do, and I think that a lot of people feel like in order to have a career, it has to feel like work. It has to be, challenging. We have to, climb this uphill in order to get there and make it feel like it's worthwhile. And I think that's the biggest load of crap. I mean, really, we're meant to love life. We're meant to be joyful. We're meant to jump out of bed in the morning. We're not meant to wake up and go, oh God, I don't want to start my day. That's the worst feeling ever. So I think the bottom line is, what do you love to do? And when you really are connected to what you love to do more than anything else, do that more than anything else. And when you are in your groove and you're connected to your passion and you're living your life in such a way that it's inspiring not only to you but to other people, the money's going to come. There's nothing glorifying about working in a job that sucks the life out of you, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, I mean, I don't, if something doesn't feel good to me, I don't do it. Like, I really don't. I don't believe in doing things just for the sake of doing them, because things that are worthwhile are supposed to be difficult or challenging or hard, or I don't buy into that. I think that's a load of crap.
Well, I love that message, because I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions that people have in the world. It's like there's so many things that I think just as you're brought up, as you're going through college, that you're given these kind of assumptions or these things that you're just kind of meant to believe, and most people never challenge them. That, all right, well, work has to be exactly that, work. It has to be difficult and a grind and unpleasant, and that it's gonna take a long time to get there, and that all of these different things that people never challenge. And so the other big thing that I think you hit on there is that so many people think that it has to be complicated. I think we all bring and apply so much more complication into our life to push away from our goals, because if it's complex and difficult, that gives us excuses, that gives us reasons to step away. But what you did right there is you just simplified it down to what are the things you want to be doing more than anything else, and then do those things more than anything else. It's like, it's so simple and so true. That doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean it's like it's always going to be easy to make the time or whatever, but it's like it can be that simple in your mind to say, what is it I love more than anything in the world, and I'm going to do that more than anything, and to commit to that. So
yes,
that is beautiful. I love that, Jenna. So, all right, so you get Ben Stiller as your first client at the studio, and then how did you move from working at this studio and working with clients to venturing out on your own into entrepreneurship?
Well, I had been at this Pilates studio for a while. So when I got back from training Ben, I was gone. I was at the studio for a month, left for 4 months to work with Ben Stiller, and then I came back, and of course the word got out that I was training him, and so everybody wanted to work with me. It's interesting what celebrities will do for your resume. Mm-hmm. But you know, it was a really cool thing for me to experience, because I was really confident in the work that I had created and accomplished with Ben. And I mean, I got him in incredible shape, and he's a great person. We connected on a lot of different levels. And what was also great about being in that position was I realized that I didn't want to just be a personal trainer. I had a vision for reaching the world in a powerful way, and that's when I got the vision for creating my own website and my own brand and my own thing. So I got back to the job, the training at people at the Pilates studio, and I was teaching classes, and I really enjoyed that because I was connecting with people on a bigger scale every single day, and so I was impacting more lives. And I was like, you know, my vision's beyond the walls of the studio, and so I had a vision for creating an outdoor fitness boot camp style experience, although I didn't like the word boot camp, but I really wanted to get people outside. So I created my own thing, and I came up with the name Mission Possible and trademarked it and got a bunch of press. I was in like, you know, 4 national magazines, international magazines. I was on the news, and I just had a lot of really incredible support. But I hadn't really made that leap yet. So it wasn't until I actually did make the leap away from the Pilates Plus studio that I began to get all this support from the universe. I mean, it was just really crazy. All this press started showing up. So I decided to just do my own thing and create my own brand and be my own boss. And I jumped, and the net appeared. I mean, it really was that simple. I really just decided to let go and trust the universe, because if we are stuck in something that we're in it because we're fearful of the possible outcome of it not working out for us. Like if we take that step away and we don't, you know, we're not in the security blanket, and we're not wrapped up in the 9 to 5 or the knowing that we're going to get that paycheck. And if we're energetically holding on to something, then we're also sending out messages to the universe that we don't trust the universe, and we're not expecting or trusting that there's going to be something bigger and better on its way to us. So that was a really big shift for me, to just let go and to trust, and I was rewarded. I really was, and had a lot of support, and then just started to build this really awesome online following, and kind of taught myself how to do all the social media stuff. Never really had a mentor for it. But yeah, I've been a one-woman show for a while, and then I've just recently, and I'm sure we'll come back to this in a little bit, but just recently decided to build a team of people around me to work with me and get my message out to the world in a bigger way. So the journey of being an entrepreneur has been very interesting, and I've learned a lot, and I don't believe in failures, but I've definitely had some great opportunities to reinvent myself. My first huge, massive opportunity to reinvent myself was when I got a letter from the lawyers at Paramount. And this letter from the lawyers at Paramount was something like this: your trademark of Mission Impossible is confusingly similar, were the words they used, to our trademark of Mission Impossible. And I'm like, no! So it was a cease and desist letter. And my whole future of how I was going to trademark this and market that and do this, and all of my branding just came crumbling down, and it was like the worst thing ever, and I was devastated. But then I decided, I was like, okay, cool, I'm just going to reinvent myself. I'm not going to let this defeat me. And I did some research, and I discovered that I'mOnAMission.com was available. And it totally created like a whole new pathway for me. And now I've got this awesome website that is more in alignment with my mindset and what I believe and stand for. And it's original and it's awesome. And I came up with a really great logo that resonates with me, and it's unisex, it's awesome, it's recognizable, and yeah, so everything's perfect. Everything happens for a reason.
I love that story. And I can only imagine just hitting this point where you're an entrepreneur, you're excited, you've got this new trademark, everything's flowing, and then boom, a letter from Paramount, which they've got some great lawyers, that says, hey, this ain't gonna happen. I mean, it would be so easy to be like, well, there go my dreams, I'm done. But I love how you just took that as an opportunity to say, all right, well, this isn't where I'm meant to be, where am I meant to go? So for all of the listeners, this is a huge message that you can take from Jenna, is that when something goes wrong, it can either be a failure, if you choose for it to be that, or it can be a lesson and an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to shift the sails and shift course. Because it's not that you can't follow that dream, it just means that that route or that path isn't the right one. So often we hear about paving your own trail and not following the beaten path. I mean, sometimes, guys, you got to run into the jungle, because what you're doing is so completely beyond anything that anyone has ever done before. There isn't going to be anything remotely close to a path. So if you want to have these incredible results, do something like Jenna. Pick up your machete, run into the jungle, start hacking away until you find that oasis in paradise that is exactly what you want to be doing and what you're meant to be doing in this world. So love that one, Jenna. So for the listeners, when I first met Jenna, a lot of times, so I do a lot of traveling with my job. I've been to 8 or 9 different countries in the past 9 months. I do a lot of flying, and one of my goals is to meet a new person on every flight I take. And one of my favorite questions to ask people, and this is something I actually believe I got from Sean, Jenna, is what are you most excited about right now? So Sean Stevenson talks about asking good questions. And I love to ask people, what are they most excited about in their life? Because that question helps shift people's mindsets to the good in their life, when most stimuli in our life try to get us to focus on the negative. A lot of people I ask have trouble. They really struggle to think of something good. When I asked Jenna this, when I first met her, she lit up. She went, oh my God, so many things. Oh, let me see, what could I tell you about? And that was just so exciting and encouraging. So when I met Jenna, I believe this was just kind of when the We Are Team I Am was kicking off, and you were telling me a bit about the movement, but also you were telling me about the unphotoshop movement. So could you please tell the listeners a bit about that, because I absolutely love this concept.
Sure. Yeah, I started this campaign. It's a self-love, body love campaign with a couple friends of mine. And all three of us are in the public eye on some level. And something that we were commonly experiencing was the feeling of the need to look a certain way and be a certain way. And that came down to the type of filters that we would choose on our phones, or blending pictures, or the need to airbrush certain pictures or look a certain way and eat less leading up to the actual day of the photo shoot. And that's just, it goes against everything that I stand for. And I would never tell any of my clients to eat tilapia and spinach every single day. I mean, I don't buy into, I know that I'm in the fitness world, but I don't buy into the whole bikini model stuff because I know what is necessary to look a certain way for these competitions and also for photo shoots. And I don't believe that it's healthy. I don't believe that the mindset is healthy. There's a lot of deprivation. There's a lot of inward focus, and it's just, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me because it's not in alignment with what it means to be healthy and live a sustainable life. So, I've had a lot of challenges being in the fitness world because I know what needs to go into preparation for a fitness photo shoot or a fitness DVD. And, I've done it, I've been there, and it's not something that I can stand for. And, so I decided to start this campaign and wanted to connect with some friends of mine to be on this mission. And we were all feeling very passionate about this issue, about how there's so much shaming against, there's this skinny shaming, there's fat shaming, there's all this body image shaming, which is just so ridiculous. And we really wanted to create the anti-photo shoot. So whatever you wouldn't do in order to get ready for a photo shoot. I mean, we had pizza the night before, we ate breakfast the day of the photo shoot, and we didn't do any photoshopping. And we actually selected pictures that weren't the top 10, and we profiled those and wrote about those. And we said, look, we don't want to post these because of this skin fold or this angle or whatever. We really allowed ourselves to celebrate every part of us, and we wanted that to be a normal conversation for a lot of people. And there's just so much comparison that happens when we're scrolling through our feed on social media. It's the first thing that we do, every picture that we see, is we compare ourselves to that picture on some level. And it really can bring us into this downward spiral of feeling like we're not enough, or feeling like we should be doing more, or we should be eating less, or we should be exercising more. It's this conversation of not enoughness that is really challenging for a lot of people, and it's something that I still go through every single day. And that's why I decided to create this campaign, because it's something that's very real for me. And I believe that we're meant to teach the very same lessons that we're also meant to learn more than anything else. And so that's what I'm passionate about.
I love it. And so for all the listeners, just take a moment right now and imagine that someone walked in and said, oh, hey, by the way, you have a photo shoot tomorrow and you're going to be in a bikini or a bathing suit. And I know many of you, just hearing those words right now, looked at yourself in a mirror or started thinking oh God, well, what about this? What about that? What I love about what Jenna is teaching is that it is all about self-love. It's not about you can love yourself once you're in shape. It's about loving yourself now, and then loving yourself for taking the steps to improve your quality of life, to be there for people more, to be able to overcome obstacles and do things you never thought were possible. And if you go to weareteamIamallwrittenOut.com, you can see pictures of Jenna and her friends doing the unphotoshop or the anti-photo shoot. You can see videos about it, and it's truly and deeply inspiring, because so much of what we see and what we see day in and day out in the media is about you being not enough. It's about you not having enough, not being enough. It's your physical condition. It's the things you have. And so often people just doubt. So what Jenna and so many other people like her are trying to do is bring people up. But I love how Jenna is embracing it in her own unique way. Now, Jenna, and a quick story about Jenna. When I first met her and she was telling me a bit about what she does, she goes, listen, Brian, I'm curvy. I've got a butt and I like that. So I'm not going to try and fit into some other mold or some other model that society tells me I have to have. I'm going to love me for me and be the healthiest me that I can, which I thought was so refreshing to hear. It wasn't that, a lot of girls I talk to, they go, oh, I've got to lose 5 pounds, or I really wish, I didn't have this cellulite or whatever. And it's to have somebody just say, I love me and this is who I am, and I'm just going to be the best me that I can. That was hugely refreshing, Jenna. So I remember reading a while ago, several months ago, I think it was just after the conference, one of the articles where you talked about what these people that are preparing for photo shoots, for fitness DVDs, what they need to do in order to look like they do for those events. So could you kind of pull back the curtain and tell the listeners a bit about the types of things that are occurring to help people prepare to look the way they do in these videos and photo shoots for these big magazines and big DVDs?
Yeah, well, the thing is the lifestyle that is portrayed. So let's just take a fitness photo shoot for like a fitness magazine. So when we look at these pictures, we see people and they look really lean, they look healthy, they have muscle definition, and it's beautiful. I mean, I'm definitely not making anything about that part wrong. But what goes into the majority of these photo shoots, it doesn't, they would never write out a description of what it took for them to look that way. Like that they just wouldn't do that because they have to cut back so much. They're eating hardly anything. I mean, it's like chicken breast and broccoli and I don't know, oatmeal, but like, it's just so boring to eat that way. And they don't eat that way all the time. So it's just like this feeling or this need to be in deprivation for a short amount of time to look a certain way that they show up for these photo shoots and actively look at this all the time. And that's just not the case. So there's nothing authentic about that. And so that's why I don't buy into it. And I have a couple friends of mine who have had liposuction on their stomachs. Specifically to make their abs look leaner. Mm-hmm. And then there's like a whole article about their abs and like all the crunches they do and like the high intensity interval training that they do, but they would never say, and I also had liposuction. So it's just very misleading. And, you know, I just don't support that. I don't buy into it. And it's just crazy that, I mean, you said it right. You're like, can you pull back the curtain and talk about what goes on behind the curtain? And that's exactly what it is. It's like this, it's like, who is behind the curtain? It's like the Wizard of Oz, you know? And, it's crazy. There's a lot of magic. There's a lot of trickery. So a lot of smoke and mirrors. But you know, I think there's a very fine line between eating healthily and completely depriving yourself and eating like the bare minimum. I mean, that's just torture. I love to eat. I love to enjoy food and have a social life and be out with my friends. And I know some people who they can't have a social life because they can only eat like one or two things on the menu, and then they have to ask them to like not put anything on it. It's like, I would never sign up for that kind of lifestyle, you know?
Right. Yeah. It's one of those things.
And then there's also, I also forgot to mention, there's like dehydration that goes on. So they actually dehydrate their bodies the day of or the 2 days before, and they start to take in less fluids, and there's nothing healthy about that. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they would even admit that either on a photo shoot. So there's a lot of tricks, and you know, you can do these. I know people they'll go sit in a sweat lodge for multiple hours, and they'll just sweat all their water weight, and it's just bananas. I can't believe what goes on. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I love that you're sharing this stuff because I think so many I have a couple friends who've recently gotten into fitness competitions. You know, figure competitions, bodybuilding. And I know so many people that go, God, I would love to be 3% body fat because they...
Why? It's like, why? You know what I mean? Why?
Yeah, and
for what? What is that going to do? How is that going to change the world? How is that going to make a difference? You know, for what? So you get to 3% body fat, and then what? Mm-hmm. And then what happens? You
exactly.
Know what I mean?
I think a lot of people believe that, oh, if I had a body like that or abs like that or boobs like that, I would, the world, everything else would come into place. Like I would, guys or girls would want me and I would be more desirable, and then things would come easier in life. And it's like the reality, like any other time when you're in the accomplishment mentality of once I get there, I'll be happy, or if I can never get there, I'll never be happy. You're putting yourself in a limiting place, like you talked about before, the limiting mindset that's just saying, this person I am will never be enough, which is totally not true. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, so, I'm no fitness expert, but I am fascinated by fitness. I've read a lot of books. I've worked with a lot of trainers, some really high-level people. And I've said, you don't want to be 3% body fat. And in fact, it's not healthy to be 3% body fat. No. When you talk about the types of cuts and restrictions you need to have in your diet to achieve that level, it's a sport. I tell people, like anything else, the weeks leading up to this event, they're almost cutting out carbohydrates entirely. And many people have the misconception that carbs are evil. It's certain types of carbohydrates promote fat production or fat storage more quickly in your body. And it's really, I just think it's a lot of misconceptions about body image and also what fitness really needs to be. So Jenna, I really think that you are a fantastic role model, especially for women, because unfortunately, society tends, when you talked about the fat shaming and the fit shaming and all this different stuff, a lot of it is really targeted towards women, unfortunately, where they're telling women that they need to be a certain way to be loved, to be desirable. And in reality, like you said, it's so much more about just embracing who you are completely. Because if you embrace who you are and you are authentically you, you'll connect with the people you're meant to. You won't connect with the people that you're faking who you are to be. So it's like, I love this type of stuff that you're talking through. So another thing in terms of kind of messages that I think you can really, that will help my audience, but especially the female listeners, I wanted to first congratulate you on your recent engagement.
Oh, thank you.
And for the listeners, I can just say that I know Jenna is absolutely, completely thrilled and enamored with Brad. And I've never met him, but I can tell he treats her very well. I've just seen the Facebook updates and everything. But Jenna, I was wondering if you could talk a bit about relationships and what is some of your best advice to find a quality, deep, meaningful relationship?
This concept was a huge game changer for me. It wasn't until I realized that I got to be the exact reflection of the person that I'm going to manifest in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the difference. So rather than like looking for my dream person, I just decided, okay, well, I'm gonna just allow myself to focus on me and be the best version of myself, and that was a game changer for me in discovering Brad. And I also really had a big wake up call because I realized that in all my previous relationships before I met Brad, that I was consistently in my masculine energy, and everyone has a balance and feminine energy. Like we all have a little bit of both, or too much of some and not enough of the other, or vice versa. And for me, I was constantly in my masculine. So the way that I was operating
Hey, Jenna, hang on, you cut out there for a sec.
I would have a goal, I would plow, okay.
Sorry, I lost you there for a second. You said you were operating in your masculine. And by the way, I apologize for the train going by. That I live right next to the train tracks, and so that is a character on my show. She's named Donna. And Donna, whenever she comes by, helps me promote whoever I am talking to. So for everyone listening, please go visit jennaphillips.com. That's Phillips with 2 L's. Or you can visit We Are Team I Am to learn more about Jenna and all the amazing things she's doing. So, all right, so Donna got her promotion in. So yes, so you were operating in your masculine energy and...
Thanks, Brian. Okay. Yes, I was consistently in my masculine energy, and what that meant was I would have a goal, or I would have something that I wanted to accomplish, and I would go after it, and I'd make it happen. And so masculine energy is actually really beneficial when we want to get stuff done, and we want to create stuff in our life. And so when masculine energy does not work for women is when we go after the man that we want, and we open our car door, and we try to pay for the bill just to prove a point. And I was doing that a lot, and I wasn't allowing the man to come to me and discover me and find me and court me and romance me. And it was just like, I saw a guy that I wanted, I went after it, made it happen, and that worked for a little bit, but it creates a really huge imbalance in relationships. And there's a way for women to still maintain their independence and their power while also being graceful. And that was the biggest shift for me in discovering my relationship. And Brad and I actually met on Match.com, and it was a very energetic way to receive him. So I wasn't searching and plowing through Match.com looking for my guy. I was just like, my profile is up there, and I received messages, and that's pretty much how it went. And I got this message from Brad one day, and it was great. We just hit it off right away, and we actually texted every single day for 2 months before we finally met. He was living in Anaheim, so he was a couple hours away, and we finally decided to go on a date. It was a really nice, easy, safe way to get to know each other. And when we finally met, it felt like we'd known each other for forever. So it was a great connection.
That's fantastic. And again, congratulations, because I love to not only see people that are connected with their purpose and their passion in the world, but that are connecting with people who encourage them and who they encourage in return. So for everyone out there who's struggling, I mean, I'm a single guy too. I know the struggles. It's one of those things where there's times where you feel lonely, you feel lost. Listen to the words that Jenna is using. She's talking about the energy that you're putting into things. It's when there's a desperate, like, think about it. When you have that desperate energy and I just gotta meet somebody. I wanna go out and I hope this girl will talk to me. Think about it when you've gone to a club or a bar, you've approached a girl with that mentality. Things never seem to work out.
That's so unattractive.
Hey, Jenna. So, I mean, maybe sometime, just maybe if you're, I don't know if you're free, like we could totally, like you're probably busy, but,
oh, it's the worst. It's the worst.
But and I think that's one thing. That's the obvious one. But honestly, in my own experience in life, there have been times, especially in college, there were a lot of times where I could act really cocky or confident or put on the oh yeah, I don't care if she says no, but inside I was terrified. Inside I was so afraid that I'd be shut down, and that energy is so, but then think about it for all the listeners, those nights when you go out and you're like, I'm not trying to meet anybody, I'm just gonna have fun with my friends, you're putting yourself in this state of just positive energy, you're here with these people, and all of a sudden, suddenly girls are coming to you or guys are coming to you, whatever. It's amazing what your energy can do. So, Jenna, I think that a lot of, especially young adults, but in general, when people start talking about energy and the universe and these things, people get kind of scared, or they go, oh, that's a little woo-woo. But could you, really, it's something that I even thought until I started to dig into personal development and then read about it and try things for myself, and I found a lot of power in getting into states of flow and finding ways to be in flow where life just seems to be effortless, and it's one of the most magical feelings, and to have the idea that you can manifest that. So can you talk to the listeners a bit about, because you're using these words, but could you talk to them a bit about what it means to you to be in a state of flow and to be just in alignment with the universe, essentially?
Well, there really isn't any separation between me and you and the universe. I mean, we're all connected. I mean, we're all the same kind of energy. Energy is energy. And so if we all understand, I mean, this is not woo-woo stuff. I mean, it's actual science. I mean, it's physics. So science has proven that thoughts create vibrations and then things, and that's really the beginning of everything. I mean, everything that exists was at one point a thought. I mean, look at the phone that we're talking on, or the computer that you're looking at. I mean, that at one point that was a thought. So somebody at one point thought of, I'm going to create this device, and now it's a real thing. So it's kind of like if you've ever thought about somebody and then they call you the next day, or you think about someone and then you run into them. I mean, that's just an example of how we can manifest things. Mm-hmm. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, that maybe that stuff isn't real. But you got nothing to lose, then at least give it a try. So why not think positively in such a way that's going to elevate you and forward your life in such a way that could also bring the experiences and the emotions and the feelings and the people and the abundance that you want to create in your life. So it really is coming down to thinking powerfully and positively. I mean, what's the other alternative? To doubt yourself, to doubt the universe, to question everything, to be a challenger of every concept. I mean, what's the purpose in that? Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't you want to be a forward thinker? And why wouldn't you want to look at all things being possible and being an optimist? I mean, what's wrong with that? So I think it really just comes down to just trusting yourself. I mean, when I say that I trust myself, I'm ultimately saying that I'm trusting the universe, and vice versa, because I don't feel a separation from the universe. We all have this amazing amount of universal wisdom within us, and we're born with that knowledge, we're born with that wisdom, but we forget. I mean, the highest level of wisdom is pure love, and we start to forget that level of wisdom as we grow into our adult selves. I mean, when we're little kids, we know that we can do anything. Mm-hmm. We only know love until someone breaks our heart, or a parent screams at us or spanks us, or we all have our different level of horrible experiences in our lives that have shaped us into the beings that we are today. And it really comes down to what we choose to do with those stories and those experiences that is going to either forward our life or keep us from having everything that we want.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I talk a lot on this show about how I want to get younger as I get older. Like, I'm talking about the mentality, and I think it's so true because when you ask an adult, like I said before, you ask an adult, what do you do? What do you love to do? They go, I don't really know. If you ask a kid, they're like, play, go out, roll around in the sand. It's jump on the train. Like, there's no hesitation. They're like, I like to play with my action figures. It's like, there's no question. It's just, they know in their heart, they're not resisting. They're not holding back. And so for that listeners, what Jenna was talking about of that untapped wisdom, or that like historic, that wisdom that just goes back centuries. Think about times where you have unconsciously just known something, or been inclined to walk into that restaurant or talk to that person. There's this kind of, and again, when it comes to energy, it's inside you. And when you are willing to get out of your own way and listen to your heart, it's amazing things that can happen. And I'm saying this as a guy who has done it successfully and is now kind of on a new transformational journey, trying to get back on track, because I kind of felt like I lost it there for a while. But for anybody that is feeling the energy thing, again, is woo-woo or it's nonsense, just think about this. Think about the person you love the most in the world, somebody who fills you up, who loves you, who supports you, and a lot of you probably just got a warm feeling inside. Think about when that person walks into the room, do you light up? Does energy just lift you up? That's energy right there. It could be your grandma who gives you a hug and makes you feel like everything's okay. It could be your best friend that always makes you smile. Energy is all around us. You can be creating it. You can be bringing it up. I know we're not talking science about creation and destruction, but you can be bringing that positive energy to the situation. You can be that person. You just have to be willing to allow yourself. So, Jenna, this is fantastic stuff. I love it. And I know you've got a hard cutoff in 10 minutes. So I think what we'll do is we'll hit the closing questions now. And if you could hang out for a minute or two after, I just got a couple things I want to ask you. But so,
awesome.
One, I love it. I love your story and the way that you coach and what you're doing. So please keep doing what you're doing, because it is fantastic. It's hugely motivational for me. And I know it's going to be huge for all of the listeners. But the way that I always close out these interviews is I ask you to kind of venture back in time. If you could travel back in time, right? And by the way, Jenna, if you don't mind sharing, how old are you?
I'm 32.
32. So again, for the listeners, guys, she's 32. You see how young she is and all of the things she's accomplished. It's by doing what she loved more than anything else in the world. Keep that in mind, because that can be you too. But it's got to start today. So Jenna, just on that note, so now you're 32. If you could go back to yourself when you were, let's say, graduating high school or college, and give yourself some advice based off everything you've learned now, what would that advice be?
It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about you. Really truly believing that, to really truly know that and believe that, that would have supported me in a lot of ways. Into become from when I was, early in my college years up until today, for sure.
I love that. Again, super simple, quick and easy. And what is one piece of advice that you would give, because I know the advice you give yourself is very personal, but what would be one piece of advice you would give all of the recent college grads right now, people who are lost, who may not have a job, who might be in a job that they hate and they feel totally disconnected with themselves, they're working crazy hours? What would be the advice you would send out to all those people listening right now?
The advice I would send out to all of you who are kind of stuck and not really sure where to go, I think what everybody really truly gets to know is that we're all worthy of having a magical life, and we are worthy of our dreams. We're worthy of big love. We're worthy of abundance. We're worthy of everything that we've ever wanted. And it's the head conversations that stop us dead in our tracks. And I think that what some people may find to be really beneficial, and something that I do and work on with my clients, is I have them write love letters to themselves. So rather than be stuck in their head about what's not working or why they don't feel like they're worthy of that or they're deserving of that, I have them actually write themselves a letter in such a way that they're acknowledging their authentic self, what they truly know about who they are authentically. Because who we are authentically is magical, powerful, unstoppable, beautiful, sexy, confident, trusting, honest, and that's who we really are. Who we are not is the ego stuff that we kind of become based on stuff we've experienced in life. So that's dishonest, not trustworthy, not in our integrity, insecure, worried, stressed out. I mean, that's not who we really are. Who we really are is the good stuff. So I have my clients write a love letter to themselves to acknowledge who they are, and that's really the beginning. That's like a game changer for a lot of people, because then they start to think about themselves in a different way.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. I love that. So for all the listeners, challenge for you guys, write yourself a love letter. I know it's going to be uncomfortable. You might laugh. You might be like, oh, why am I doing this? Write yourself a love letter as if you were writing this to the person you love the most in the world. Because really, you should be loving yourself so much, because when you love on yourself, it allows you to give more out to the world. And to Jenna's point, we are magical, amazing, crazy, powerful creatures. And the quote that I love, it's our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, it's that we are powerful beyond measure. So,
yes, Marianne Williamson.
It's beautiful. So, Jenna, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time. And at the end of these, I always like to ask you, where can people go to find out more about you? Because I know after hearing this story and all of your messages, people are going to be flooding to your site. So what are the areas and websites and places that people can learn more about you?
Well, if you guys, there's a lot of different ways you can connect with me. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I have my website, so you can look at my website, jennaphillips.com. You can also check out my website, I'mOnAmission.com. And you can also Google me. A lot of my stuff will come up that way. So you can also check out my YouTube videos. So there's a lot of ways that you guys can find me. But I have a pretty awesome following on Facebook. I have a great community there, and Instagram as well. So it's just lots of social media ways you can connect with me.
Fantastic. And for the listeners, I'll be including all of these show notes on overcominggraduation.com. And for anyone who wants to be included on the mailing list, please go to overcominggraduation.com. Give me your name, your email, so I can keep you updated on all the things coming up with OCG. And if you'd like to reach out to me directly, please contact me at brian@overcominggraduation.com. So all the show notes, all of the links Jenna just referenced will be put up on the site for you to check out. And Jenna, I think we'll close out for now. I love this. Hopefully we can do another one again sometime soon. But for now, I know you got some stuff to do. And if you can hang out for 1 minute after we're done, I just got a couple questions for you. So thank you so much for everything. This was wonderful.
Thank you, Brian. I really love this.
All right. Well, I will talk to you again soon.